Hey everybody, welcome to day 28 of the Take Back Your Life video journey, 40 days of thinking right so that we can live right. Today has been a long day and it's almost over, at least for us. You're going to see this in the morning, so your day's probably just starting.
We're 4 weeks in.
4 weeks in, 28 days. It's hard to believe that it's already been that long, but here we are. Today, hope has a rope. It's like, sort of like soap on a rope.
Kind of.
It's kind of, but drastically different. They both have rope in the title.
Oh my word.
But the verse for today
is Hebrews 6:19 through 20. This hope we have as an anchor of our soul, both sure and steadfast, and which enters the presence behind the veil, where the forerunner has entered for us, even Jesus, having become high priest forever. We talked a little bit about this before we started. And whenever we were trying to decide what to talk about here, my favorite part of what Pastor shares is how after Lenya went to heaven, how they were able to go around a corner and hold hands. And even though they couldn't see each other, they were all still connected because they were connected to Pastor. And that is very much what Jesus did for us, is he created a chain link through the Holy Spirit, linking us back to him and to God, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, and that gives us hope and gives us the ability to believe for a better tomorrow than what we have today. He says in here that hope is a powerful thing. Of all the battles we've been talking about, perhaps the most important battle is the one you fight within your mind and heart to not give up, to keep moving forward, facing the things that you must deal with. As we find ourselves being challenged to think differently, to have a different outlook on things, sometimes we can get really discouraged by the things that go on around us, and it makes it awfully difficult to continue to push forward. And that's where our hope and our rope comes from. The Holy Spirit gives us reason, gives us ability, gives us stability to be able to move on.
That's a good way to put it. The ability and stability, because it allows you to stop focusing on what's right in front of you and focus on what we learn.
I don't know what it is about these videos. Every time we start doing a video, my mustache starts itching my nose. I've noticed it's become a bit of a thing the last several days, so my apologies. But he uses the idea of the anchor being useless without the rope that connects it to the vessel that it's holding. And I was thinking about that, I'm reminded of Wile E. Coyote cartoons and just silly stuff. Maybe Three Stooges comes to mind a little bit, where they throw the anchor in and there's nothing attached to it, or the coyote cuts the anchor and, there's, again, nothing attached to it. It doesn't stop the vessel. It keeps moving. So we have to have that rope in order to anchor us to the things that don't move. The idea of thinking of the anchor digging into the ocean floor, holding a mighty vessel in place simply by having that connection to the bottom. And for us, having that connection with the Holy Spirit, again, gives us the stability to know that we can do anything that God's called us to do. We just have to continue to hold on to that hope that He's given us.
Yeah, and whenever you're thinking about the need for an anchor, whenever you're in still waters, you don't need an anchor. You're there and you're still. But we're given that example of an anchor because as we go throughout the valleys and the mountaintops of life or the storms of life, God knows that we, without that anchor, will be tossed from this way to that way.
There's lots of ways to grow in our relationship with God that gives us more firm rope gives us a thicker rope. I was watching a YouTube video recently about the sinking of an aircraft carrier and had to deal with the anchors and the chains that held the anchors. And it's a giant. I mean, it's as big as a person. It's not like anything crazy. And yet you can take a rowboat and you can take a piece of cotton rope, toss the little bitty anchor over the side with this cotton rope, and it holds that rowboat just fine. As our relationship with God grows, that rope grows because it gives us, again, greater stability. As we grow in being vessels of what God's called us to, as we grow stronger in our faith and we take more steps and we get out there, that rope needs to be bigger to keep us anchored. But there's several ways to grow in our relationship with God's Spirit. Serving other people, which we've talked about that. Taking a walk and venting to the Lord, which is prayer, which we've talked about that. Reading the Bible, we've talked about that. Talking with a friend you can be real with, again, we've talked about that. So all of the things that we've put in place up to this point are being put in place to give us resources to be able to strengthen our relationships so that we have that connection with God. And when the storms come, we're not going to be tossed about. He tells us again, right now is the time to strengthen our faith. Today is the day to put down roots in a local church. Sing your guts out to the Lord. As a drowning man cries for air, even when you don't feel your need for him. So again, this is sort of leaning into the storm. Your anchor can hold you, but as a boat it goes into a storm, they turn into the storm so that the waves crash against the front of the boat where it's designed to take that kind of punishment. So again, we have to be willing to lean into the storm, and having roots in a local church is important.
And if you're not in a storm right now, then you're getting prepared for a storm. They always say that if you're in a season of blessings, don't worry, a season of battles or a season of trials will come. And if you're in a season of trials or battles, then don't worry, a season of blessing will come.
If there's one thing that's certain, is that change is inevitable and that we don't stay in one season forever. It may seem like it at times, but we do not stay in a season forever. So our hope is grounded with a rope to Jesus Christ through the Holy Spirit. Just think about Pastor being around that corner and holding on to one hand on one side and another hand on the other side, and being that visual chain to help us understand what it means to have that connection. And that's the rope that we need to survive our storms. And so I hope that this week you've started to see things differently as we've put some new practices into place in order to strengthen the relationship that we have with the Lord as we continue to push forward. Next week, we're going to be talking about being the difference. And we're going to get into the wolves analogy, talking about the strength of the pack. So I hope that you are buckled in, that you are being diligent in reading every day, and that you are putting into practice the things that Pastor Levi's talked about. We so appreciate the fact that you guys come along with us on this journey. And, for the next 2 weeks, things are going to look a little different. We're going to be out of the studio, sort of on the road, as you might say. And so hopefully we get these uploaded every day, but we'll see. But hopefully you will get to see some of the things that we see. And we're going to talk about being
The difference.
the difference. Be the difference, starting next week, which is week
5.
Week 5. So, all right, everybody. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel, make sure you ding the bell, and then like this video if you're so inclined. Certainly appreciate it. You guys have an amazing day. We will see you tomorrow on day 29.